gamers? Today we're going to be making a little guide for the beginners. Now this is not going to be a gameplay guide. This is going to be if you're new player and you got no idea about how any of this works in Age of Empires 4. This is for you, like brand new player. So the stuff that I'm going to be talking about today is some basic terms, game modes. I'm going to talk about age up mechanic, landmark, explaining UI, how the scouting works, food, wood, gold, stone, what are they used for, gather rates and everything else. I'm going to talk about upgrades, types of maps, basic civ explanations, strategy with each civ, what should I learn first, what civs should I play first, what should I play first in general, should I play 1-on-1, 2v2, AI, whatever else, and where to find more info and guides. So let's get started with the basics. So first things first that you need to know in Age of Empires 4 is some terms. AoE 4 obviously stands for Age of Empires 4. FC stands for Fast Castle. So I'm gonna actually notepad. You have all in. Now all in doesn't necessarily always mean all-inning off of one town center or one base all-in. All-in can also be a situation where you put yourself in an all-in position, which means you're all in, right? If this doesn't work, you will be either dead or extremely far behind, and economically, that's what that means. Then you have TC. This is town center, which is your main building. 2TC build is often referred to 2 town center build, which means it's an economic build. You're going 2 town centers and then making units or then making upgrades or whatever else. Then you have term FFA, which you're going to probably hear quite a lot. FFA Nomad. FFA stands for free for all. Nomad stands in AoE 4 for when you're playing a game and you don't start with a town center, but you start with multiple villagers spread around the map. And FFA Nomad is a very popular mode that you can play in AoE 4, where you fight 8 players free for all. You're just fighting it out. And then you have booming eco and eco. So eco refers to economy in Age of Empires 4, which also I'm assuming in a lot of other games. And then booming is a strategy that is basically economic strategy that heavily relies on you building up your economy and then transitioning into mass units. So 2TC build is a booming strategy. FC is a fast castle, which is usually referred to fast tech. And aggro, right? Aggro build is usually a build where you, the moment you age up to age 2, you just make units and you go for it. So this is just to get you familiar with some of the terms. What modes do exist in AoE 4? So you can play 1-on-1 solo ranked, which you can veto the maps right here. So you can veto up to 3 maps. You guys can't see it because my camera's too big, but there's a veto right here. Trust me. You can veto whichever maps you want. You just click, you press save, and you're good to go. This is where you can see your rank list, what rank you are, and all that. And another term is Conk, which is short of Conqueror, which is the highest rank in AoE 4. Then Team Ranked exists in 2v2, 3v3, and 4 versus 4. Now, the important thing to note is, even though it's different, you know, it's 2v2 and then 3v3 and then 4v4, the rank is the same for the 3 modes. So if you are Conqueror by playing only 2v2, when you queue up in 4v4, you will also be Conqueror, but there's a different matchmaking rating. So if you're playing your very first game in AoE 4, you will be basically placed with, like you've never played the game 4v4 before, even though you're maybe Conqueror in 2v2. Then if you go in Quick Match, you can play a bunch of different modes. There's a standard mode, there's an Empire Wars mode, which is a accelerated version of normal AoE 4, I guess. The Nomad, which is the one where you start with multiple villagers scattered across the map. And then Quick Match is basically unranked gameplay. So you can play a Quick Match versus AI with people, or you can play Quick Match versus players. This is the free-for-all. So if you wanted to play Nomad free-for-all, you press this, boom, and they queue up. Next thing, there's a Learn tab in game, which you can use to your advantage. So if you go play right here and you go learn, you will be able to find all the information on all the civilizations right here. So here are all the civs, all the 16 civilizations. So if you want to know more about Abbasid, you can click here and you will get all the technology, all the unique upgrades right here. And if you press on any of the buildings, you can kind of open them up and get even more information, right? So there's a lot to read out, to check out there, which again, a lot of people don't know about. Age up mechanics and landmarks. So this is something that's, age up is not unique to AoE 4 since, I don't know if Age of Empires 3 has it, I'm assuming it does. Age of Empires 2 has age up, but in Age of Empires 4, you age up in a different way. So let me show you real quick. In Age of Empires 4, there's 4 different ages. There's a Dark Age, which is usually an age where you just go around the map, you get sheep, and you basically slowly age up to Age 2, where you can start building up your economy or your tech or your units or whatever else. Whenever you do want to age up, the first age up costs 400, 200, and you can age up by pressing T. So whichever civ you play, except Abbasid and Ayyubid, you press T, and you have always choices between 2 age ups. So you can see I'm age 1 right here. To age up to age 2, I can go Council Hall or Abbey of the Kings. So in other age games, you age up by pressing on Town Center, like a button here, and then you age up. In AoE 4, it doesn't work that way. So you need to age up with one of these 2 buildings, and these are called landmarks as well. When I age up, you cannot make the other landmark. Age to landmark, let's say I make Council Hall. Once that finishes, I cannot make Abbey of the Kings. Some civilizations, such as China and Jushi Legacy, can make both, but most of the civs will not be able to. So once you age up, you will be able to use that building. And then if you want to age up to age 3, you will have a different set of landmarks, which I'm going to show you in a second. So this is how you age up in Age of Empires 4. In Feudal Age, you will have access to pretty much most basic units. In Castle, you will have access to every infantry and cavalry unit pretty much. And then in Imperial, you have access to all the siege that exists in the game. Now, explaining the UI a little bit for you guys. A lot of people don't know what's what. First things first, the UI right here, you can see how many economic units you have, how many military units you have. This is your food, wood, gold, and stone. If you mouse over any of the resources, you will be able to see what your income per minute is. This is your idle villager tab. So all these guys napping is all the idle villagers that I have right here. This is how many villagers you have on each resource. So if you put workers on gold, you'll see I have 9 on gold right now. And they need to deliver off once for the income per minute to start. Next, this right here, there's 4 different win conditions, if I remember correctly. So win condition number 1 in Age of Empires 4 is your opponent leaving the game, surrendering, you win. Congrats. Victory condition number 2 is destroying the enemy landmarks, which I don't have right here. Usually that's here as well, but because I don't have any opponents, I can't see it. So what are landmarks? Your main town center is a landmark. So it says right here, economy and population building landmark. Important to note is your second town center, if you build another one, is not a landmark. Only the first one is. My age up buildings are also landmarks. So Council Hall is a military landmark. It's the age 2 landmark. The third landmark is going to be, for English, either White Tower or King's Palace. So let's build another, let's age up to age 3. And then the last landmark is the age 4 landmark. So there's a total of 4 landmarks. And if those get killed, sniped, right? If they get destroyed by your opponent at any point in the game, you will be instantly eliminated. They don't have to kill your army. They don't have to kill other buildings. They can just build a bunch of units, snipe, or kill this town center, kill this council hall, kill this landmark, and the 4th landmark, and you're out. If you only have 2 landmarks, let's say you're in Feudal Age and you only have main town center and age 2 landmark, if they destroy them, you lose the game. The third way to win or lose the game in Age of Empires 4 is through a wonder, which costs 5,000 food, 5,000 wood, 5,000 gold, and 5,000 stone. It activates a 15-minute timer right here. And if you build a wonder and the opponent doesn't destroy it in 15 minutes, they lose the game. And the last victory condition is sacred sites, which are these things right here, the white things on the map. right there, and right there. What do they do? Sacred sites can be captured in castle by any civilization and by Delhi in feudal age. They're the only civ that can capture sacred sites in feudal age. And once these are captured, they basically work like hold the point, right? So once you capture them, if the opponent doesn't decapture, they will lose in 10 minutes. So sacred site has a 10-minute timer. Some maps have 1 sacred site, some maps have 2, some maps have 3, and I think some maps even have 4. And in order to win through a sacred site victory, you need to capture all sacred sites on the map, and then the timer will start. So I'm going to show you right here. These are the monks that you make in a religious building like monastery. And once the monk steps on it, you will be starting the capturing. Once this is filled in, sacred site is captured. You will also generate some gold, which is very, very important. So once you capture sacred site, you will be getting 75 gold per minute, which is equivalent to 2 workers mining gold. So once I capture both of these, you will see on the top here, sacred site of victory will start. What else is there? Another way to generate gold in Age of Empires 4 is these relics. So these relics are on the map. Usually in a normal one-on-one map, there is 5 relics. And the formula for how many relics exist are the number of players plus 3 relics. If you're playing a 4v4, there's going to be 4 relics plus 3, so 7 relics total. So that's how that works. And relics are captured with your monk religious unit. And once you capture it and you put it into your monastery, only then it will start generating gold, and you will get 80 gold per minute. And right here, because I capture both sacred site, the victory countdown has started. Let's go to scouting. Once the game starts in Age of Empires 4, what do? The first thing you will do is you will set your workers to gather food, and then you're going to be scouting with your scout. So what is the point of the scout? What are you looking for? What you want to do with your scout is you want to scout for sheep. The general rule of thumb is both you and your opponent will be starting with 3 sheep, and there's a total of 20 sheep on the whole map. And it's divided 10 on your side, 10 on their side, but obviously you don't know where they are. So when you start the game, you're going to put your workers on the sheep, and you're going to try to find sheep. And the way you find sheep is you just run into them with your scout, and they end up following your scout. The opponent cannot take your sheep as long as the sheep are on the scout. If I were to leave sheep like this, an opponent comes with their scout, they will be able to take the sheep from you. So be careful. And how do you drop off sheep? At the end of the day, when you finish scouting, when you're satisfied, you can either click on your town center and it will drop off the sheep, or you can manually select your sheep and you can put them under over here. Just don't do it from too far away so that your opponent doesn't yoink your stuff. Now, let's go some more explanation regarding UI. Right here, if you mouse over the health area of any unit, doesn't matter if it's a scout or a worker, you'll see they have health, armor versus fire, which is torch damage in the game, which you don't need to worry about it too much right now, versus armor versus melee units, armor versus ranged units, armor versus siege units. Which also, by the way, this is melee armor, this is ranged armor, this is melee attack because this is a melee unit. If this was a ranged unit, it would show ranged attack right here, and this is movement speed. Now, there's more information here, such as attack speed, tile range, and all that, which you don't need to worry about. But the important thing is more information is right here, and some units have bonus damage versus certain things. So for example, Scout has bonus damage against other Scouts, but their normal damage is just 1. So basically they hit for nothing. Unless they're other Scouts or unless they're enemy siege. Next thing, this is the command grid, which you have all your commands such as garrison, seek shelter, stand ground, which is for unit to hold position. You have attack, stop, repair, and you have delete right here, which you can also use on your keyboard to delete a unit. Over here, if you select the villager, this is a pretty important one. In order to build buildings, you can either click and select, like you press left click and then press down to put the building down. Or what you can do is you can see right here, you can press Q. Once you press Q, you will see every building will get a hotkey or key of their own. So in order to build a house, you can press Q, and the building can be put down. So Q to open basically this tab, and then you can press whichever one of these keys to build something. If you want to, this is age 1 build tab, this is age 2 build tab, so feudal age. Once you age up to feudal age, if you want to make an archer range, you would press W to open up this tab, and then press A to build the archer range. So that's how that works. Other than that, over here, if you can see age 1, you can see the name of the player, and then age 1, what age you are, what age your opponent is, and what civilization your opponent is. In the top right, you have players and tribute, so you can also open here to see which player, plays which civ. But more importantly, if you're playing team games, this is how you trade or give resources to your opponent. So if you're playing a 2v2 and your opponent wants food, in order to trade them, you need to build market. And once you have market down, you can just press this tab and send them 300 food and then, or wood or whatever else you want. And then last but not least, in the bottom right side, we have the minimap. The most important thing probably here is going to be change minimap size. So this is your standard minimap size. I suggest you press and play with the biggest one because you can just see resources a little bit better. Okay. On to the next things. I want you to know there's 4 different resources in Age of Empires 4. And those 4 resources are food, wood, gold, and stone. So what are the resources used for? Food is used for any unit in the game. So whether it's an infantry unit, a cavalry unit, ranged unit, melee unit, you need to have food in order to build them, and you need to use food to build villagers. Wood is used for pretty much every building in the game, whether it's a house or a production building, you need wood, and any unit that is kind of like a basic unit will be using a little bit of wood. So for example, spearmen use wood because spears, wood. Archers use wood in order to be produced, and horsemen use wood because they're basically horses with, big spears. Also, the way you produce farms in Age of Empires 4, which are basically infinite food source, is also with wood. So wood and food are your main resources, where you're gonna be needing those to either build buildings or produce pretty much any unit in the game. Now, gold is a bit more unique, gold is a bit more rare, and eventually gold runs out, and then you have to do other means in order to get gold. Now, what is gold used for? Gold is used for aging up, like food. Gold is used for any upgrade in the game, you need gold. So any upgrade, whether it's an economy, military upgrade, you need gold. And there are units that are produced with gold, and those units are knights and men-at-arms mainly. Some other civs have other unique units. And gold is also used to produce siege, just like wood. So in order to produce mangonels or mangonels or trebuchets, so siege units, you need gold plus wood. And any kind of higher tech is gold. So you can look at gold as a resource that you use to produce upgrades, and you use it to produce higher tech units. And then you have stone. What is stone used for? There are some upgrades that you can upgrade with stone, but they're very, very unique and specific, so we're not going to go into details on that. Stone is generally used for 3 things. Number 1, it's the stone walls, which take stone to produce, and they cannot be taken down by normal units, only by siege units. Stone can also be used to upgrade your towers, which I'm going to make one right here so you can see how that works. And the last thing stone is used for is to make keeps right here. Keep is a big defensive building that is pretty hard to take down, and it costs 900 stone. So it's quite expensive, but it's quite good. Whenever you make an outpost, which is, tower, with any civ, they're going to have 3 upgrades, which is arrow slits, springled emplacement, and cannon emplacement. Cannon emplacement is basically like a big, large attack that deals AoE damage. Springled is a better version of arrow slits if you want to look at it that way. And then you have fortified outpost that gives bonus HP to that tower. So that is what stone is used. And, almost forgot, stone is also used to make town centers. So in order to make a town center, second town center, you need 400 wood and 350 stone. This is stone, this is gold. Gathering of the food. So wood is wood, okay? You chop wood, you get certain amount of resources per minute when you chop wood. Boom. Gold, same. Stone, same. Food is different. Why is food different? Because you have different type of food gathering in the game. You have sheep. We're talking about a land map. You have sheep, you have deer, you have berries, you have farms, and you have boar. And all those have different gathering speeds. And I'll give you a quick TLDR. I don't want to bother you too much with details about that. The fastest gathering that you can do on land map is boar. The second fastest is deer, which are usually on the open side of the map. And that's why, you know, they have better gathering rate, but you kind of have to be out on the map in order to get them. Then you have sheep. You get more resources per minute if you're on them. Then fourth best are farms, and then fifth best are berries. So I don't know the exact numbers, but those are how gathering rates work. Now there's another thing in the game called shoreline fish, which have the highest gathering rates of it all, even higher than the boar, and you don't need to do any upgrades, and there are no upgrades that affect gathering fish faster. So that being said, let's talk about the upgrades. So I'm gonna build these and that. There's two types of military upgrades that we're gonna be focusing the most. Technically there's three, but let's talk about the two that are most important. So you have your blacksmith upgrades, which the way they work is there's four different upgrades that are main ones. There's the steeled arrow, which increases the range damage of all arrows and bolts by 1. Ranged armor of all non-siege units. There's the melee damage of all non-siege units and melee armor. So how do they work? If a unit is dealing 5 range damage, it's very simple. If you get +1 range damage, your unit will then do 6. So there's no percentages, there's no none of that, okay? If you get +1 ranged attack, you will get +1 ranged attack. You go from 5 to 6. If the enemy has 5 range attack, and you upgrade +1 ranged armor, then the enemy will be hitting you for 4 damage. Okay, so it's just -1 damage to them. So if I have +1 range attack and the enemy has +1 ranged armor, it's negated and the unit will do however much damage the unit does. Next thing is melee. It works the exactly same way. So if you get +1 melee attack, the unit will just hit for +1 more. That's just how it works. So that's blacksmith upgrades, and you can see here it says range damage technology 1 out of 3. With each age, you will unlock another set of blacksmith upgrades that do the same thing. So feudal age, you have these. Once you go castle, you can do the same upgrades again, but they're more expensive. We have a tiny dog. Then you have veteran upgrades. So I'm gonna make a couple of men-at-arms just to show you guys how they work. Veteran upgrades are more important if you have units on the field already. So this is a Dark Age man-at-arm. So this is a man-at-arm that you have access to in Dark Age. If you get an upgrade to upgrade them to basically next age, you will not only upgrade one, you will upgrade all men-at-arms, but it also doesn't upgrade just one stat. So I want you to look at their stats right now. They're 100 health, 2-3 armor, so 2 melee, 3 ranged armor, and 8 attack. Once the upgrade completes, they go from 100 to 120 health, they get another melee armor, and they get 2 damage. So, per cost, your veteran upgrades are a lot more important than blacksmith upgrades. So, if you have 20 units and you age up to the next stage, the first thing you want to do 99% of the time is get your veteran upgrades first, and then proceed with your blacksmith upgrades. That's very, very important to know, because these upgrades in barracks or archer ranges will give you a lot more stats. Eco upgrades. In my opinion, the most important eco upgrade is called Wheelbarrow, and what it does is increases the carry capacity of villagers by 5 and increases their movement speed by 15%. Why is this upgrade important? Well, if your villagers carry more resources, instead of traveling like this to drop off and go back, they need to run around less, which means they can gather more resources and increase your income over time. But also, them having more movement speed will make it running away from the enemy units a lot easier, thus saving your villagers. You have Horticulture, which increases villagers' gathering rate for food by 15%. does not apply to hunted meat, which means boar and deer. So horticulture, this upgrade only works on berries, sheep, and farms. That's it. This upgrade, called Survival Techniques, works only on deer and boar. So that is very important to know. This one you don't have to worry about. This one you don't have to worry about for now. In the lumber camp, increases villager gathering rate for wood by 15%. That's what it does. Nothing else. You just gather wood 15% faster. Same thing with specialized pick. You gather 15% faster until the Imperial Age, where you also drop off more gold. Now, again, I don't want to go too deep into it. I just want to tell you the bare minimum. Next thing, types of maps. There's 3 types of maps. It's very simple. There are land maps, there are hybrid maps, and also there are water maps. Land maps, again, very straightforward. They're like the map we just played. There's no water at all. You cannot build any ships. You cannot build any docks. Hybrid map is a map that focuses on both land and water. So it usually focuses on you having some fishing ships to support your economy, but then most of the battling is on land. Sometimes there's some fighting on the water too. And then you have water maps, which are considered, it's like the opposite of the land map kind of, right? It's just most of the fighting is done on water. Land is just usually used to gather some of the resources, and that's it. Okay, basic civ explanations. So there are a couple of different play styles you can do with civilizations. There is the boom civilizations, which they rely on building a second town center and then basically growing their economy in order to, they have less units now, but they have more units later. And it's also riskier to go for a boom strategy. You have an aggro civ, which is an aggressive civ. That's kind of civ focuses on attacking very early and putting pressure on your opponent. You have defensive civs. Their playstyle focuses on them just kind of trying to survive, right? So there's basically, most of the boom civs are defensive civs, right? But there are some booming civs that can also be aggressive. You'll get that later. So there's a defensive civ. Defensive civ focuses on surviving, extending the game, and kind of trying to fight or finish the game later on when maybe they get some of their better units or whatever else. And then you have castle rushing civilization. What castle rushing refers to is you rushing to age 3 as fast as possible and getting access to higher tech units. Now, this kind of strategy requires you to, I would say, have a little bit more experience in the game. Rushing castle strategies usually involve, like I said, you getting there with basically minimum amount of units, most of the time no units, and then trying to capture sacred sites or relics and going for the more expensive units while your opponent still has feudal units. Let me give you some of the examples. Some civs, by the way, are just aggressive civs. Some civs are just boom civs in the current meta. Some civs can do both. So don't be confused by that. In general, most civs can be played in whichever way you want, except some are better with certain styles. So if you play English, you can play it as a boom civ with multiple town centers, but you can also play it very aggressive, or you can also play it with a castle rush. It's a very versatile civilization. So civilizations that are boom, which go for multiple town centers and try to win that way, are Abbasid, China, Jushi Legacy, French can be boom civ, JD can be boom civ, HRE can be 2TC, English, and Rus. Those civilizations usually focus on 2 town centers, expanding their economy, and so on and so forth. And those can be played in that kind of defensive manner. Then you have middle of the road civs that they're focusing a little bit on their economy, but they're not skimping on units. And those civs are Byzantines, Japanese, Ayyubid, Order of the Dragon, Malian is a very good one, and Mongol. Then you have aggressive civs that are focused on dealing damage and trying to prevent your opponent from expanding their economy or, you know, advancing to the next age or whatever else. And those civilizations are usually civilizations like Ayyubid is very good for that. Can be played that way. Jushi Legacy can be played with that. French JD can be played like that. Delhi, English, Mongol can also be played like that. Ottoman or Rus. So again, in Age of Empires 4, it is not a very simple split of this civilization is aggressive, and if you want to play aggressive, you pick that civ, right? It's more, there's more variety than that, especially in lower leagues. I would say it's more strict in higher leagues, what you can do with each civilization. Whereas in lower leagues, you can kind of be more freestyle regarding that. Next thing, what should you learn first? This is a question I get very often. What should I learn first? I just started playing Age of Empires 4. What should I learn first? The number one thing you should learn is to consistently produce your villagers. The more villagers you have, you will have more economy and more resources to get upgrades and to make units. It's not all about having units. Sometimes the opponent can have more units, kill your army, but then because you have more economy, you can remake the army faster and then kill his army, and then the game ends. So, number one, regarding macroing, is make villagers constantly. That is your main goal. Number two, you should focus and learn what is your goal with your civilization. So if you're playing English, right? Try to learn, okay, I'm playing English, I want to play aggressive, learn what your goal is, learn what your victory condition is. So if you're like playing aggressive English, it's not all about just attacking. You want to understand where you're supposed to attack. Why are you attacking there? What resources should I go for? What units should I go for? That's very important. Number two, or three, whatever, is unit counters. The basics of unit counters. So, the way it works is unit counters in AoE 4 are more or less rock, paper, scissors. Spearmen defeat horsemen, horsemen defeat archers, archers defeat spearmen. That is the rock, paper, scissors that you have. Men-at-arms are good against everything, but they don't hard counter any of the units. So they're all around good. They're armor type unit, but they get countered by crossbows and knights, which are, knights are also armored units, crossbows are not. So crossbows are kind of counter to men-at-arms. There's a lot of interactions with different types of units. So I'm not going to get into all of them, but the important thing is try to learn the counters. So if you're playing a game and you lose to a bunch of archers, and you're like, I have no idea what I should be making against that. You should be making horsemen, right? And then if you make horsemen and opponent makes spearmen, then you make some archers. So your comp is horseman archer versus spearman archer. Next thing, basics of micro. Let me enter the game real quick and show you. Basics of micro, I would say, probably include trying to hotkey your units or keybind your units, which means to have your units on number 1 or number 2 or whatever hotkey. So the way you do that is, let's say these guys are 6 archers. If you hold control and you press 1, these guys are going to be in control group number 1. So now if I'm here and I press double 1, they will go, the camera will go to those guys that I hotkeyed earlier. Next thing, try basics of micro. Try not to attack your opponent if you have big army, like 60 units. Don't click on one unit like this. Because what that will do is all the units will attempt to attack that one target. And if that one target is blocked, your units are going to go all around trying to reach it, and your opponent will kill everything you have. The way you want to attack in Age of Empires 4, unless you're specifically focus firing a certain unit, you're going to press A on your keyboard, or you can click it and just click on the ground left click. What that will do is all your units that you have selected will attack everything on the way to right there. So if there's a unit here or here or here, they're going to attack whichever unit is the closest. So learn about A move. It's very, very, very important, and too many people learn it way too late. What should I play? This is a question I get probably the most, actually. Hey, I'm a new player. What should I play? Well, the simple answer is play whatever you want. You know, if you want to play team games, play team games. If you want to play one-on-ones, play one-on-ones. If you want to play campaign, play campaign. Number one thing I would suggest is figure out what kind of civilization would you like to play. If you came from StarCraft 2, do you want a more tech-heavy civilization like Protoss is? Then there's some civilizations that are like that. They focus, those civilizations are usually fast castle rush civs. If you want more Zerg-like or more economy-focused civilization, figure out which civilization those are Pick one of those, see what looks good, try them out in a custom game against AI, see what you like. If you want to play more aggressive civilizations, then if you like more cavalry-based, choose one of the cavalry-based civilizations, go with that, learn that. So what should you do? First of all, figure that one out. Second of all, play some games against AI, see how it feels, right? See how the civilization feels. Sometimes even though you like civilization, when you play it, it doesn't feel good, right? So make sure to play what you like, not what's good. What's good when you start playing is completely irrelevant to your skill level. Number 2, if you go play and then single player, there's a thing here called Art of War. If you play this Art of War, there's some early economy, late economy. They're basically kind of mini tutorials. You have basic combat, you have early siege, late siege, advanced combat, and you can play these in order to help you understand a little bit about basic economy, basic combat, and everything else. And they're a great way to practice and learn those things. So once you've played against AI, once you've done the Art of War, what should you do? Should you play ranked? You shouldn't play anything, right? You shouldn't need to play anything. It's completely up to you. If you want, you can continue playing against AI whenever you feel ready. If you don't want to play ranked, go play some one-on-one quick match. Or if one-on-one is too scary, right? Maybe you don't want to play one-on-one. Then just go play some team games, right? Queue up 2v2, queue up 3v3, get more comfortable playing the multiplayer, or even you can go and do some Nomad free-for-all and just enjoy there. And whenever you feel ready for ranked, go play ranked. There's also a lot of mods that you can play. You can download custom maps, arcade maps, stuff like that you can play as well. So you can kind of go for that too. But in general, play what you like. There's no rules. There's no rules what's best to do. When I play RTS games, I always jump into ranked immediately, but that doesn't mean that that should be your experience. And last but not least, some of you are wondering, well, how do I know which civilization I should play? How do I know a build order? A build order is how you get from point A to point B in your gameplay, right? So you don't freestyle, but you follow some kind of plan, some kind of build order. Well, AoE 4 there's a lot of information in that game, and I couldn't fit everything in one video. So someone earlier I saw in the chat was wondering, how am I supposed to know what civilization fits me? I also have a video on that, which is me explaining every civilization's playstyle. So there's a video on my YouTube channel, and I think just search explaining civilization, I think it's gonna pop up. But I basically go through every single civilization and talk about their general playstyles, so you can kind of see what sounds cool to you, what sounds good to you, and that's what you want to play. Build order guides for every civilization, for, I don't know, macro guides, micro guides, scouting guides, how to castle rush, how to defend against certain things, how to play English aggressive, how to play English defensive. All of those things are on my YouTube channel. So again, there's a lot of information. I don't want to go through all of that in this video. If you want more info, you can find it there. And there's also a very cool website, AoE4 World, where you can find a crap ton of information. So if you just go AoE4world.com, they have a lot of things. They have leaderboards there for whatever you need. They have statistics. They have Explore, which is all the information that you have in the Learn tab in game. There's more information right here. There's some other things, yada yada. You can watch through specific games through this, which is gonna find you a specific matchup in game on Twitch. Again, there's plenty good information out there. There's other content creators that make guides, so feel free to check out on YouTube whatever you need. English tutorial, English guide, French guide, search it on YouTube, search it on my channel, and you will find it. And that's it. That's pretty much it. If you're here and you're new to the game and you want to know what to do first in Age of Empires 4, you want to know the basics of Age of Empires 4, there it is. I think I have covered pretty much everything basic. I know it's been a somewhat long video, but I hope that it helped you quite a bit to get your start in. You know, the more you learn, the more you will understand a lot of different things, and then you can kind of explore and reach out for more info and get better and better at the game. So that is it. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Check me out on Twitch. I stream pretty much every day and play Age of Empires 4. I'm probably live right now as well. YouTube gamers, thank you. Twitch gamers, let's keep going.